Quick disclaimer, I have been ill for a little while, that's why I missed the previous week's video, and my voice still shows it in this video.
Game started.
Hello and welcome to another casted game of Beyond All Reason. Today we are back on All That Glitters, and I've actually found myself playing this map quite a bit recently. It is a very enjoyable map, especially for the front line. I'm not a fan of the backline play on this map, but on the front line you have access to so many mechs as you push forward. You can see there that it is incredibly enjoyable. Now jumping straight into this one, I'm going to introduce the blue team captain, KZ. Is actually going to go in for Armada and go for vehicles. Of course, with this map being so open, very little terrain to cause any issues. Having plenty of space, the vehicles are going to have an upper hand. Next up, you've got Syria going for Armada as well. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw him go for vehicles now as well. Yep, there we go. Going for vehicles as well. And then we've got Damglio. Now he's going for vehicles, but he's also going for Cortex vehicles. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this. I believe Armada vehicles are a little bit better, and that's simply because of the Janus. I mean, the Janus is just fantastic for that alpha damage. So it fires the 2 rockets, it does an insane amount of damage, but then it takes quite a while to reload. So you can push the Janus in, deal the damage, and then immediately pull it out while it's reloading. And there isn't a lot the enemy can do to counter that, really. Next up, you've got Geronimofo. He's going to be in the canyon. He's going for Cortex bots. My apologies. That's a pretty good build, if I'm honest with you. When it comes to in the canyon, it's a little bit difficult to maneuver vehicles through. Of course, they've got quite a wide turning radius. So when you're fighting in this area here, which you're going to be, of course, you've got the double bubble mechs there instead of one on either side. So you're going to be fighting over that mechs. And it's going to be quite difficult to get vehicles up and out and turning around. So bots there, good choice. Would like to see quite a few rocket bots. Of course, rocket bots, they're dumbfire missiles. They're not particularly good at tracking. So if the enemy's got plenty of space to move around, they can be quite difficult to hit moving targets. But when they're in a choke point like this, it does make it that much easier. Backing him up on the front line, you have Yannick Bay. He's going to go for vehicles. So with glitters, the corner players are often going to come through like that and actually claim a bit of the front line themselves. You can see there and there. And that's simply because the other corner players will do the same as well. It's just to patch a bit of a hole and allow the other frontline players to focus on their lane opponent. On the air, we have Bansoma going for Cortex. Love to see this. Cortex Air is generally just a bit better, I think, to be honest with you. The fighters in T2 are faster. The bombers all around just have more health. They do more damage. That's the standard bombers. Of course, the Lich is rather powerful, but I mean, the Lich is incredibly expensive. It is incredibly expensive, and I think the Cortex bombers are just a little bit more efficient. Lovely run by here. Actually going to claim that one mech. Is he going to get another mech? He is going to get another mech. So it doesn't seem like much, but I mean, the mech does cost 50 mil to reproduce. Not only that, but you've got to drag a construction vehicle away that could be doing something useful to actually go and get it back. Actually resurrecting that one there. Love to see that. That's a much better idea. But when it comes to getting metal extractors, the longer it takes for the person to actually fix the metal extractor, the more metal they lose. Because right now that metal extractor is producing 1.8 metal, but he's not getting any of it. That one as well. So when it comes to this map, bashing metal is definitely something you want to be going for. Is very, very efficient to do run-bys. I probably would say it's a little bit better later on into the game, once the command is actually pushed up to the front line. As you can see, Azrael is pushed up here on the red team. If you was to make a run-by now and actually take some of these mexes out, it can be incredibly difficult to get a construction ship down to build them back up. It takes a long time. So therefore, they miss out on a lot more metal. That tick's still going. That tick's still going. Literally come right the way through. I'd like to see that constructor reclaim it. It's not going to be in range. And Tick's going to get away scot-free. Absolutely fantastic run by there by Gendog, actually. Anyway, back to the introductions. You've got Super Catawis actually on the purple in the back. He's going to be going for the tech. So he's going to get T2 out for the rest of his team. Of course, he's gone for Cortex T2. So, I mean, Armada gets a little bit of a discount in the early game. Of course, Armada wind turbines, 37 metal compared to the Cortex at 45. But obviously, Cortex gets a little bit of discount on solar. Gone for quite a bit of solar there, actually. 3 solar panels with 3 energy storages. Not a massive fan of solar collectors. I'd argue you should probably reclaim these in a minute, just to get that metal back and pump it into the T2. And then in the corner we have Alex. Sorry, I was looking for the commander there. So we have Alex. He's got to go for those Armada vehicles. Going to be coming up to the front line and actually assisting KZ. On the enemy team, of course, we've got Azrael pushed forward. Lovely, love to see it. You want to claim your 3.2 mix, and then, I mean, if you can claim the enemy 3.2 mix, you're in a fantastic position. But essentially, you just want to sort of try and deny it. Same here with Tesseria. He's got his 3.2 mix. He's going to try and deny his enemy the 3.2 mix. Nurse has not very many units. What's going on there? I think he might have taken a bad engagement. Maybe pushed into these light laser towers. It's tough sometimes on the front line. Anyway, in the corner, we've got Duffy. He's actually going to build a bot lab on the front line. Did he go for vehicles? No, he went for bots. That's absolutely fantastic. Again, when you're fighting in this sort of area, it's going to be quite difficult to maneuver vehicles. Gendog actually pushed right the way up here. Actually pushing Yannick Boy back. Gendog, of course, spawning in the back right. Going to be pushing up and helping. On the tech position, we've got Revek. He's got his T2s coming out now. I'd like to see him start handing those off to his team. Of course, we've got Nursasimi going for the Armada vehicles. It's going to be a reoccurring theme with the Armada vehicles. Through quite a few maps, actually. And then in the canyon, you have Malem going for the Cortex bots. Why is Malem there? This is a little bit odd. So Malem has actually taken this spot here, whereas this player in the corner has actually taken this spot. Not sure I like that. The reason for the positions of where they are is simply because, actually, hold that. Massive run by here. Actually, Azrael managing to break through, dealing a significant amount of damage. I mean, they're very slow units that he's managed to run by with. Normally, when you run by with Armada tanks in the T1, it's going to be with those stouts because they're quite quick. I mean, that guy's cleaned up, but he does a significant amount of damage. Not only has he taken out all the mechs, taken out the lab, he's taken out the constructors. You've got one construction turret left and a little bit of economy. It's really rough. It's a very rough situation for Damglio. Anyway, as I was saying, so you've got this player here, but the pink player is normally the one that comes up to here. So you've got this player that comes down to here. You've got this player that actually comes up and supports him from the side. The reason being is because of the resource access. So the pink player has all these resources, whereas this blue player has all these resources. However, the player in the back, Joker, actually does not have very many resources at all. As you can see, he's got 5 mechs in total. If you compare that to KZ, who's got a hell of a lot more, he's going to have a rough time, simply because he doesn't have as much economy. Although, having said that, ooh, that is a really rough go down. I believe it was the Whistler that just got that last shot off. Need to see Malem push up and try and claim some of this metal from that commander. It's 1,250 metal. That is a serious amount of metal in the early game like this. Nope, you need to push up. Come on, keep pushing. Just be careful about Yanis, because Yanis are very dangerous against commanders. But I mean, he's pushed KZ back quite a bit, considering he doesn't have access to anywhere near as many resources as KZ does. So that is fantastic to see. It looks like Damglio is just still recovering. I'd like to see his teammates potentially offer him a con or something to claim the rest of his mexes. Let's have a look. KZ, Asriel's actually going to be coming in into the side of to Syria here, who's trying to get a gauntlet up. Of course, gauntlets, those of you who are aware of the channel probably know that I'm not a massive fan of the gauntlet at all. It's 1,250 mil, so you're dumping 1,250 mil into a static object that takes quite a while to get up. If somebody else sees this, I mean, they can quite easily push you, simply because you're down 1,250 mil compared to them. And if they've put it in units, there's no way you're going to win. So just be careful when you're going for these. Make sure you build them slightly behind your defenses rather than in front. He has got away with it this time, though. I will say that. Syria has managed to get away with it. He's going to start pounding down, and I guess Nursasumi needs to either push and take it out, or he needs to back up and sit out of range. Lovely little air run by. I believe he scouted with the fighters beforehand, just to double check and make sure the enemy didn't have too much air up. Oh, those wind turbines are not spaced. Needs to be getting on that, KZ. So the wind turbines, as you can see, these here are spaced by 1. So when they go off, they will not chain reaction right the way through. Whereas if you have them with no spaces like that, they're all going to go down to a single bomb. Actually, Super Katowice quickly putting up 2 anti-air towers. They're going to make short work of those bombers and a fighter coming in. But they've done a lot of damage. Those fighters have done a ton of damage. So the wind turbines, they're not the most expensive unit. Building, sorry. But when you get a significant amount of them like that, it can put a large damper on the enemy economy. And that's because of the energy production. So if we take a look at KZ right now, it's got a bit of a bank because he does have that energy storage still. It's actually going for advanced solar collectors. I don't know whether I like that. I don't know whether I like that at all. I mean, advanced solar collectors, yes, it's a steady stream of metal, and they've got a bit more health, 1,130, so they're not too easy to kill. But they are incredibly inefficient for what they do. Like, incredibly inefficient, so. But anyway, KZ is at some point going to run out of energy unless he starts building those back up. But it does take a little while to build a wind economy back up, unfortunately. Another commander going down and actually managing to get some of that wreckage back into his economy. Lovely to see. I'm not sure whether he managed to claim all of that metal from that com. Of course, you will note because I will put it in a window in the top. But it is a significant amount of metal in the start. 1,250. If you get an enemy com kill, if I'm honest with you, feel free to go into T2 yourself. I mean, that's so much metal that you can actually afford it. Ooh, Duffy here. Now, this is something that I wanted to talk about. Asriel and Duffy have both done the same thing. This is something that I've started doing in my Glitters games. So when you receive the T2, you can upgrade the 3 mechs and the 4th one, and potentially even that one there as well. And then instead, you go straight into the fusion reactor in your base, reclaim your lab, and build a T2 lab on the front line. Now, the reason this works is, of course, with Glitters, you have access to so much metal that you can afford both, as long as you have won your front line. Of course, Asriel and Duffy have both won their front line, so they've gone for it. And then with the T2 lab on the front line, you build a advanced construction bot and then a few of the assistant bots, and you can then work backwards. Alternatively, if you have a transport, if you can get a transport off your air player, you can set the fusion reactor to build, and then you can transport your bot to the front line where you've got a few construction turrets, and then start immediately on these, as well as placing a few of the T2 defenses on the front line. The T2 defenses that I'm talking about are the pop-ups. So, where is it? The Scorpion for the Cortex and the Pitbull for Armada. I think they're just generally fantastic units. Not even that pricey. I think it's about 700 mil. 730 mil. I believe the Pitbulls are slightly cheaper. But for what they do, they're quite a good defense. They've got plenty of range. They're going to outrange anything that is going to come from T1. They take reduced damage from anything that outranges them, like artillery, when they're in the popped down state. And they'll only pop up to shoot. And they actually have pretty pretty decent direct fire weapons. So anything fast that tries to run by, they're going to have no problems hitting. All in all, very good unit, I believe. Let's have a look. We've got some T2 coming out from the backline player, Gen Dog. He's going to be going for some gunslingers. Of course, gunslingers good against T1 in the earlier T2 phase, but they will fall off eventually, unfortunately. All in all, this is still actually a relatively even game. As you can see in the top right of the resources, I believe blue is currently reclaiming something, so the blue team's currently reclaiming something. Put some Lazarus out, which is lovely to see. As you can see, once they've stopped reclaiming, it goes back to very, very close. And a game like Beyond All Reason, it can be quite volatile, so at any point somebody can get a fantastic shot into the backline, say take out someone's economy, or they can get a quick run by into the backline, because the economy will chain react, especially the energy converters and the build power, and it can swing the game in their favor very quickly. But as of right now, I think it's anyone's game. Of course, we've got Duffy building quite a bit of construction turrets. This is a bit of an odd place to build construction turrets, I'm honest with you. Going for some flak on the top. I think he's just building that there so he can catch some of the enemy planes that are circling around. Commander actually going down there to the Yanis's. You need to be very careful. Yanis's do a significant amount of damage, especially to commanders actually. The alpha damage is no joke. Needs to be careful of that. Rattlesnake on the front line. Love to see that. Of course, I'm not a fan of the gauntlets, but the rattlesnakes I would disagree. I think they are actually quite good. I mean, they do a significant amount more damage than a gauntlet. Actually, a rattlesnake coming up for Alex as well. Potentially maybe trying to counter the rattlesnake. But the rattlesnake, when it's in its state like this, it will take significant amounts of reduced damage. Big push through with these gunslingers. We need some T2 to try and answer this. And the rattlesnake's going to try and shell them in, but the comm does go down. Of course, gunslingers do outrange the comm, so you need to be careful about that. T2 coming up, but I don't think a Tremor's going to stop this, my friend. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tremors are very good. I used to think they were a meme unit, but I have recently been humbled. I'd like to see these come down and through. I'm going to try and get them on the back line. I would like to see them come up a little bit, actually, to try and take out some of these Mausers. The Mausers can only shoot 180 degrees, and they do need to turn their entire chassis to shoot. So actually coming in from the side is the best way to engage these, or from the back. I actually got a lot of Mausers for green here. I think he's going to have no problems dealing with this. I mean, the Mausers are very cheap. Only 320 metal apiece, but they make short work of enemy T1 with plenty of splash damage, and they do enough damage to deal with T2 units, early game T2 units. So just generally fantastic units, if I'm honest with you. Actually, this commander is going to go down very quickly. As you can see, the damage output there from a group of Mausers is significant. So that Tremor's gone down on... Oh wow, okay, we've got a Basilisk coming out. That is actually not a bad idea, if I'm honest with you. I expect the Basilisk could probably reach... There's the range there, so he has access to all of that. I don't quite know why it's drawn a line there. That is the Basilisk range there. So if he can get a shot down here on the economy, that is all going to chain react. Down here would be a good place to shoot. I don't know whether he's going to be able to shoot down there. So of course you've got something in the way. The metal extractor is probably not the best idea to shoot. But just like I was saying earlier, just a single shot into the back line, as long as he manages to hit energy converters, construction turrets, you can do a significant amount of damage. And actually, as I mentioned, well, as I pointed out just before, I've got a Tremor on the high ground transport up there. Can that reach the buses? I mean, it can. You could, yep, that's a fantastic place to A-click. Oh, no, you got to A-click in the range. Oh, it's still going to fire. Okay, fair enough. Tremors, they do an area damage. They do quite a bit of area damage, so they're not very inaccurate. But when you target here, it is going to hit just about everything here, of course. A lot of those shots are going to miss. It's not very accurate at all. But that should be A-okay in taking out that Basilisk eventually. Yeah, as I was saying, Tremors, I always used to think were a meme unit, but I've recently been very much humbled by it. It's got a lot of range at 1,470, so I'm a big fan of Starlight pushes. course, up here, Starlight's at range 950. Even KZ going for a tremor. I mean, I guess it's got the firing angle as well. Oh, there's tremors everywhere. It's literally tremors everywhere. What is going on in this game? We've got 6 tremors. It's the most tremors I've ever seen. Yeah, as I was saying, I mean, the tremor's got a fantastic firing out, so trying to fight over the top is going to be no problem. Whereas Starlights, when you're slow pushing with Starlights, the tremors, you just have to A-click the area that Starlights are going to be in, and they're going to land on them. Beautiful run by here with Bulls to tank in the front line. We've got a lot of health, the Bulls. And then Mauser's backing these up. This is no joke, actually. This could do a significant amount of damage. I really do expect this player to go down completely. Mauser's actually coming through. We've got shurikens coming out. I mean, the shurikens are going to be able to deal with these eventually, but the Bull's coming down from the back line from the red player, Azrael. Hopefully going to help deal with this, but this player is going to be pretty much eliminated. I would like to see somebody share him a few more resources, potentially even a fusion and a few converters just to get him back into the game. But of course, Bulls quite hefty, decently fast actually, a decently good gun for what they do, so they're quite difficult to deal with. Looks like there might have been a shot there that bounced off this bubble over here. I mean, if you shoot above the bubble, if you aim for something over this side, it's going to bounce off the bubble and go in random directions. Got another tremor coming up to try and help deal with this Basilisk that is still raining down. I haven't seen a good shot off the Basilisk yet. I would like to see him target it a bit better. Can he see much? Yeah, he can't really see too much, unfortunately. I mean, he can see the T2 factories. That's not a bad thing to aim for. I'm actually going to go for the wind turbines, but Syria has a keeper up, so that's going to be deflected. Unfortunately, Basilisk is not going to be... It doesn't fire anywhere near fast enough to go through a keeper, so he's going to have to target something else. Might even be worth targeting the front line, so like, see where the tremors are shooting from, and targeting those positions. Yeah, as I said, so you get 1 or 2 tremors out. You A-click at the end of their range, and then it continues to bombard that area. And then once you've moved your units up to, say, about there, you move the tremor up a bit, and then you A-click slightly beyond that. It can be very difficult to push into, actually. The tremors do a significant amount of damage. We've got more tremors coming up. That's going to transport that tremor over to this pillar here, just so he's got a bit of a better angle. And it's going to try and take out this Basilisk. Love to see the pop-up turrets. As mentioned, I'm a big fan of these. Of course, as you can see, they take significantly less damage when it was down there. As soon as it popped up, it immediately went. It immediately died. Very quickly, actually. So that damage prevention is significant. The Mammoth coming out over here from Malem. Going to try and stop this push. Got a single Starlight in amongst all this. Ah, there's the others. Would like to see them come around a bit because they need the line of sight. It's a direct fire laser, so it's not going to be able to shoot around corners, unfortunately. You're going to need a nice open line of sight. The tremor's still got firing away. Has he lost one? I think he's lost one to these termites. It's a very good answer, actually, these termites. They're, of course, able to climb up and down cliffs. They can climb up this cliff, take the tremor out, whereas it is actually quite difficult to see the tremor on top of the cliff. Of course, you've got vision of the transport, but the top of the cliff will block the line of sight. I'd like to see these tigers come through. These tigers will make short work of those termites. I believe there's just saw a banisher shot as well somewhere. I'd like to see them come through, take out the termite before they get a chance to go up and kill that. Collapsing on the other side, we have Jaguars jumping on top of the Starlights, going around the back. Of course, Starlights, again, similar to Mausers, they only have a 180-degree fire arc. Are they going to target the Geo? I don't think they're going to get the Geo down fast enough, unfortunately. Bull surprisingly good at dealing with air units, of course, reclaiming them as well. That is a dodgy situation, though. I don't know if you want to be placing that much next to a C2 geothermal. Need to be careful of that. Looks like more units came through from the green player to Syria here. They've just been shut down by a Marauder. So we've got T3 starting to come out. From Ravek, of course. I believe that's the only T3 currently. Super Catalyst has got quite a bit of eco now. I'd like to see him come online a bit more, if I'm honest with you. So maybe place a T3 Gauntry down, rather than just rushing out a few Fiends. Duffy actually has plenty of economy. Going to be feeding that onto the front line to build some Mammoths. I've actually got a few coming out already. I mean, once you've got this sort of economy, you can go straight into T3. You don't need to mess around with T2 anymore. You can just transition and roll your opponent over. Marauders, maybe not the best choice. Ravek is actually still producing Marauders. I mean, if you can get T3 relatively early, I think they're absolutely god tier for run-bys. So you run straight past the enemy and you go for their soft underbelly. But, I mean, at this point, you can sort of take Marauders out with T2 units that are up. Starlights, of course, make short work of them. Any sort of pop-up battery will make short work of them, as well as grouped T1 units. Lovely run by the Jaguars here. Don't know if he's going to get much done though. Got some snipers lined up. They're going to make short work of these Jaguars actually coming in. Need to be careful about that. I mean, the run-bys are good if you can deal damage. If you can't deal damage, you're just feeding your opponent metal. So that is something you need to be very careful of. Also, might be worth mentioning that there are going to be metal fields around that you want to take advantage of. So when the enemy does do a run-by like that, as you can see, 6.7k metal there. It's actually going to be rezzing some of these. I'd like to see him res that commander actually as well. Of course, commanders in the early game. Early game, I'd always say reclaim the commander. In the later game, I'd always say res the commander, because that D-gun in the later game against a large T3 unit can be invaluable. Can be absolutely fantastic. Interesting little solar array here from Alex. Not quite sure why he's gone for that. I'd like to see all the metal go straight into the fusion rather than solar panels. Oh, he's got loads of solar panels. What? What's he doing? Got 24 solar panels there. It's 3,700 metal, only producing 480 energy. That's rough. That's tough to see. That is actually very much tough to see. Really want to see him reclaim those and put them into something a bit more useful. Tick spam coming out with the Starlight push. Down here, lovely to see. So the Ticks, of course, will provide all of the vision. The Starlights will come in and blast away at anything that they can spot. You can see that Starlight will go down very quickly. Ooh, that's one way to stop this. Just seen an explosion here from an EMP bot. I wonder who has grabbed that. Not quite sure who's made it. Commander going down to those Starlights. And actually got a flank here from the T1 brutes. Damn Leo coming back from the dead to make his revenge. That's fantastic to see. As I mentioned just now, Starlights, of course, can only shoot 180 degrees. So if you can come in around the back or around the side, you are going to have a field day shooting them down. Again, more Starlights in this position down here. I don't like Starlights pushing through the canyon simply because the lines of fire are blocked. So if you've got a Starlight pushing through here like he did, and the enemy's already got a unit here, you can just jump on top of the Starlight. Massive air battle going through here. I think the Pink's going to clean the bombers up nicely. I mean, they took out a bit. They took out a few snipers, I believe. But they're going to die before they get any real damage. Okay, now this is a dangerous situation. So the Pink player has just essentially won the air battle from that terrible engagement. I really did not want to see that from Bansoma. I have a Lich guide on the channel that goes over this extensively, but you do not want to be throwing your air units away. Right now, if this Pink player was to come over, he'd be able to absolutely annihilate any air units that's left, and he would have free reign to bomb anything that he wants to. Of course, a Lich coming in here, it's going to immediately go for the anti-air, so any other units coming through are going to be free to attack this player. It's actually sending some shurikens up. I think he's trying to scout with the shurikens. But he's got bombers off to the side here. 15 bombers, that's plenty enough to take out an Aphis. I believe you need between 7 and 9. Cortex bombers to take out Aphis. But if he was to push over now, try and avoid all the AA, he would have no problems taking out these players here. So when I said previously that this was a relatively even game, I think that the red team has the upper advantage here. It'd be interesting to see if this pink player decides to pull the trigger and actually go for it. So the issue with that engagement was that he flew directly over the enemy anti-air into the enemy fighter wall with his bombers without scouting whether or not he had more units. He clearly did not have as many units as the pink player, and so he lost quite handily. Pink player's still producing. He's still producing bombers. I don't want to see that. I want to see more fighters. I mean, the window of opportunity for him to take and actually attack the enemy has kind of fizzled out a bit now that this player has got more fighters up. So he needs to start producing fighters again to actually win that. Lovely push by the red player here, as well as Duffy with the mammoths in the front. So the mammoths are going to tank for the starlights. Ticks are going to provide vision, and then the starlights are going to annihilate anything that gets too close. You can see these tigers trying to run through. They're just going to get shot down by the starlights. Actually get in range of one of the starlights. That's something to bear in mind. Need to be careful. What's this player doing with the fighters there? I think maybe some shurikens. And here is the engagement that I'm expecting. Is he going to go for it? Looks like he might go for it. Pink's going to gather up his bombers. Going to gather up. Has he forgotten about these bombers? What bombers over there, mate? Oh no, he's just placing them at the side. So he's just hiding them so the enemy fighters can't come in around his fighter ball and actually take them out. This push is actually very significant. That bulwark is not going to get up in time. This red player, I don't see anything that they can do for this green player actually. Some tigers coming in from the side is fantastic, and there we go. That's where it is. So the pink player is going to come in now, take out all the fighters. He's actually going to use the units underneath him for cover. Lovely engagement there. Going to be bombing this player here. It's going to go straight for the back line. Lovely to see. I think that's probably going to be game, if I'm honest with you. So that's what you want to wait for. There's no point flying directly over the enemy front line where the AA is going to be. You want to wait for your team to... Well, you want to wait for the enemy to either take a terrible engagement with their fighters, or you want to wait for your team to push through and actually provide you a clean shot at the enemy backline. Doing a significant amount of damage there, and that's going to be GG. While I would like to say that this air player did make a terrible decision there going straight in, I do believe that it would not have changed the outcome. This push between the mammoths and the starlights was an absolutely glorious push coming through, and there wasn't really a whole lot the enemy team could have done to deal with it. I mean, tremors, again, tremors are pretty decent, but when you've got mammoths pushing into your face, it's not something you want to really be dealing with. I mean, I guess probably the best way to deal with that is to maybe skirt around and come from the back, and actually come around the back of the starlights. I'm just going to pause it quickly, show the graphs. So Duffy there having a free game. Tessyria, I believe Tessyria may have taken over his eco player at that point on the graph. As you can see, there's a point that's actually coming through. I know you guys can't see my mouse, so this is a little bit difficult to do because I can't draw on it. But the green line, you can see going straight up, as I believe where he took over the buildings of his eco player. Not quite sure why he disconnected. And then energy produced is going to be a very similar story. Anyway, I'm going to release a video actually going over what I mentioned earlier about building the fusion in your base and the T2 on the front line, because I think it's actually fantastic for glitters. It's something that I've been doing myself and it feels absolutely fantastic. But if you enjoyed that, please feel free to give it a like. Please feel free to consider subscribing. And I shall see you in the next one.